Hello and welcome back to Humble Not Timid. Thank y'all for joining again. We did take a little bit of hiatus last week, but this week what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a catch-up video on a few topics that done passed us by. Now, I do appreciate everybody who's been reaching out, leaving their comments, remarks, everything like that. We do appreciate y'all's help. We do appreciate y'all as we grow. And anybody who does come in and help us grow, because we are growing. It hasn't stopped. So we thank y'all for that. Like, subscribe, and share the videos. And I do got a couple projects that I'm working on. Got an interview that I'm trying to get done with a professor friend of mine who's very intelligent. And then I got a dark topic video that I want to do that I'm working on getting set up with my cousin. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do some commentary on that. And some of these things they want to hide off in the dark, but we're going to go ahead and there's been spoken on by many times by other people, and we're going to do our part to keep it in the light. That way everybody knows that it's there. But other than that, we're going to keep on going. And like I said, once again, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your subscribes. Thank everybody who shares the videos, and we appreciate you as we grow here on Humble Not Timid. This is another voice, another choice. See you on the other end.
Getting mad at me, playing, but they taking my place. And I'm a misbreed, homie, so they hate my race. Or maybe I'm just ugly, so they hate my face. Either way it go, homie, take the hating away. Now I'm suited in my armor and I'm just ready to play. So now put me in coach, cause I'm just ready to play. See, I told y'all I ain't going nowhere. I told y'all I'm right here, right here. I told y'all
Thank you all for joining us here at Live Now from Fox. My name is Carla Hara, and we do want to get to some breaking news at this time. As you're seeing here, a post from the Associated Press, Chief Justice John Roberts has paused an order for the Trump administration to return a man mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador. It's a story that we have been following for several days now, as we just heard that the Justice Department did argue in an emergency appeal to the justices that U.S. District Judge overseeing this case overstepped her authority when she ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia returned to the United States. The administration has conceded that Abrego Garcia should not have been sent to El Salvador because an immigration judge found he likely would face persecution by local gangs. But he is no longer in U.S. custody, and the government has no way to get him back. That's according to some of the arguments made by the administration. Now, the judge that was presiding, the district judge, gave the administration until just before midnight to, quote, facilitate and effectuate Abrego Garcia's return, saying, quote, the district court's injunction, which requires Abrego Garcia's release from the custody of a foreign sovereign and return to the United States by midnight on Monday, is patently unlawful, according to the Solicitor General in what he wrote in court papers, casting the order as one, a quote, a deluge of unlawful injunctions judges have issued to slow President Donald Trump's agenda. The Trump administration is separately asking the Supreme Court to allow President Trump to resume deportations of Venezuelan migrants accused of being gang members to the same Salvadoran prison under an 18th century wartime law. The Federal Appeals Court in Richmond, Virginia, denied the administration's request for a stay, saying, quote, there is no question that the government screwed up here.
Now, the White House has Garcia case that they got going on. Supposedly, this man was he's actually a Salvadorian citizen. Okay. Now, he did reside in the United States. He got caught up in all the little sweeps and everything that they do, which, if you watch and pay attention, they say that they do these things, strategically and everything. So at some point, I guess, he got caught up, and it is what it is. Either his name was on it, and I didn't see the exact details of how they did snatch him up. But he's not even an American citizen, though. Okay, now mind you, he has been over here since I believe he was like 16 years old. And if you go look up some of the information about him, his parents, he So there's different stories. They got some stories saying that, he does have gang ties, with the MS-13. Then there's stories that, he's with some of the Salvadorian gangs. So they don't know whether or not, I haven't seen anything whether or not it's true or whether he's just an innocent man who's here. He got married, has a wife and a kid here, and they got him out of here. So according to the way that they're saying is now that he's over there in Salvadorian, that, we don't have no jurisdiction over there. So we can't actually get him. We can't just put in some request or whatnot and have him sent back out because now you're in their hands. So with that being said, there's a lot of people who are mad at the fact that this man got deported. Now, the thing about it is, to me, is he's not an American citizen. It'd be different if he was an American citizen, actually had citizenship over here, and then they deported him. Then I had to be like, yeah, y'all messed up, which some of them say that, they did mess up. But even at that, though, he's not an American. That's why we have no jurisdiction over him, because we can't just go over there and say, hey, y'all need to send us one of your citizens back, because he's one of theirs. He's not one of ours. So now that he's back over there, he's stuck in their hands. Now, I mean, that's just one of the few things that's been out there going on, But then along with that too, though, the Supreme Court also put a story out, or they was it the day before yesterday, whatnot. They put the story out where they said that, the Supreme Court actually backed Trump on his firing of the federal workers. Now they have certain reasons on why they say they wanted to do this, because they put a pause on the return of the hiring of them, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they believe that the people who actually filed the lawsuit, the 9 nonprofit organizations, they weren't the proper organizations to do this. So they pretty much are saying, look, you have a lawsuit, but the people who filed the lawsuit aren't the proper people to file the lawsuit. So they went ahead and they filed a lawsuit against the Supreme Court to get the rehiring of these workers. But they did pause it. So they counted it as a win for the Trump administration. And whether or not they did the right thing or not, we'll leave that to be decided by the courts. But we'll go ahead and we'll take a quick look at this real quick.
Ruling.
Yeah, the Supreme Court has paused a lower court's order that would return a whole bunch of federal workers to the job, those probationary workers, those newer workers who were laid off but who had challenged the layoffs through the court system. These include workers from the Defense Department and the VA, some of the larger agencies. The Supreme Court has deemed they want to put all that on hold, the return of those workers. In the ruling, the initial read of the ruling, it's because they don't believe those particular plaintiffs are the right ones to be challenging this in the court. So until they can hash this out further and go back to the drawing boards of these legal arguments, the return of those workers, the court order they come back to the job, is paused, which means those workers would remain home or would remain in some form of limbo at those agencies.
So is it more a question of procedure rather than arguing the merits of the case where this one's concerned?
It has that feel. This is an issue involving the parties. Is it the proper party to file a suit?
Right.
If you go to court and you want to sue for something, they're going to make sure, the judges are, that you are the proper person to be taking this action against another organization. This is a freeze of a lower court order, which means the litigation is almost certain to continue.
All right, good to button that one up. Let's get back.
Now, Breakfast Club did do a interesting interview, and I don't always like everything Breakfast Club does, because some of the stuff they do, man, they kind of kill me on. But I mean, and I watch Breakfast Club. Been a fan, been watching them for a long time. I don't agree with everything that they say and everything that they rock with, but it is what it is. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. That's what makes America American. But they did do a interview recently with a John Hope Bryant, and same thing with him. I'm not gonna sit there and say, "Oh, I agree with everything," but man is very, intelligent, and he's very successful, and he has an event with the Green Sox that they're doing with them, and they did say that and he's promoting it on the interview with the Breakfast Club, and so this is supposed to be financial literacy month, which I didn't even know that was a thing. We got a month for everything and a day for everything. But I do agree that it is very important that we do get financial literacy within our people and within the communities and the cultures. But it's like one of my I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and he told me, he said, you know what, yeah, the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, and the most he can do is put the information out there. But Bryant does give some what they call them, some jewels inside the interview that I think were very, very important. They were very important, and you just need to listen, and we need to learn. I think we all need to learn. I got to learn some things myself, and other folks need to learn some things themselves. But and me, I'm like a sponge. Sometimes I'm gonna soak it up. Not gonna say I agree with everything, but I will soak it up, and I will take the knowledge for what it is.
On April 30th, and this is Financial Literacy Month, by the way.
Okay. Now, I was thinking about, just speaking of the country, with all the tariffs that Trump is putting on the country, right? And, people are looking to purchase their first homes or all that. What would you advise people to do, right? Because they're saying with the tariffs, they're saying the price of materials are going to go up in price. They're saying the price of cars and the parts are going to be shooting up. What would you advise people to do if they're looking for home ownership at this point in their life?
This is going to seem schizophrenic in my advice.
Okay,
So
I'm listening.
I'm telling you in advance, ignore the noise, first of all. This is just noise. Just like DEI was a distraction. Like, why are we arguing over DEI? We're fifth on the list. Why are we the poster child for DEI, right? But they wanted us to be the poster child. Somebody did. Somebody wanted black people to be, because that triggers racial overtones and all that other kind of stuff. Wasn't even our
Now, you
fight.
see right there, I do agree with that. And ignore the noise. Now, he said, oh, it might sound schizophrenic. No, it sounds real logical. It really does. Because, see, they got a lot of things going on. So they throw all this stuff out there left and right, and they bombard the whole scene with information here and information there. And then I agree with him. Same thing like with the DEI. Like why are we worried about the DEI? See, they want to piggyback every agenda that people got, whether it be the LGBTQ, whether it be the women's rights or whatever. They want to put everything on the back of being black. Oh man, it's just like hating black people when you don't like the way I tie my shoes. Shut up. No, not everything got to do with black folks. You know what I'm saying? We don't got a dog in this fight. Leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? The DEI didn't even benefit us, and it didn't even hurt us. Like it really didn't. They got mad, they wiped out DEI, and then they went after Target. But yet, come to find out that Target actually employed some of the most. It was one of the highest employers of black people. So I know I don't understand it. You know what I mean? The way of thinking throws you off. But Brian ain't finished talking. We're gonna let him spit a few
That's
more
what
points
this
out
is.
here.
This country is 70% consumer spending. Sorry, the biggest economy on the planet, America. We're 25% of the global economy. We're 40% of global wealth in the world. We're big ballers. Out of 8 billion people, there's only 350 million people, but we lead the whole world. But 70% of this economy, it's not rich people. It's not big business. It's you and me paying for car notes and mortgages and going to get some coffee, which didn't work outside. It's little stuff. It was the car service that brought me here. It's a breakfast that we had this morning. So this economy can't succeed without us succeeding, first of all. So this party ultimately will pivot back to what's going to drive the economy, because this is a capitalist democracy. Big C, little d. It's a free enterprise democracy. So I tell people, ignore the noise. This stuff, if it's not working, Washington's going to have to pivot. There's a strategy in Washington. I was with the Secretary of the Treasury a couple of days ago, who I actually like. I think he's actually a decent guy.
Please break that down, because I need to know what the strategy is. I don't understand it.
Well, no, I didn't say I understood it. You're going too far.
Okay.
I said, first of all, I like him, and he and I are going to work together on financial literacy. We're not going to agree on everything. I was with him for an hour. I didn't address this issue because his boss has already made up his mind, and I know I didn't want to put him in an uncomfortable situation, ask him questions that he can't answer. This has to play itself out. I mean, the country
right there. he gonna come back and he gonna explain how he talks to me. They ask him about the strategy or whatnot, but and like you said, I don't have to understand everything. You know what I mean? We don't have to agree with on everything for us to work together. We can have disagreements on the way that things should be and the way things should go, but then at the same time too, though, we can still make progress. That's the whole point of everything is to make progress. So, and if you watch the entire interview, I'm not going to show the whole interview, but if you watch the entire interview, like he says, the whole thing is it's never been about black, white, or brown, and none of that. It comes down to green. So if you can get yourself on the financial level, on the financial side of things, to where you're on the playing field that they're on, then it's not even about, even poor white folks is no different than poor black folks. They make them think they're different, because that's why they keep the whole racist thing going, because they want the poor white man to think that he's somehow better than the poor black man. But the reality is you're in the same boat. Poor brown man is the same as the poor Chinese man. You in the same boat. Poor is poor. And then you take the rich people who got money, and they still got money. So they're still doing better than you. They're still making it better than you. They're still sitting on the level that you're not sitting on. So we got to stop with and so then you end up with the socialists who just hate everybody who got more money than them. So it is what it is. But I like the way the man keeps on speaking, though. And I do agree with the fact that we do need some financial literacy out here. Now, this next story. So there was a high-level CEO that, a high-level executive that worked for Meta that has recently wrote a book or whatnot. They actually came out and spoke a few times, and they did some 60 minutes, you know what I'm saying, and some interviews and whistleblowing about how Meta's policies work, and the true background of Meta. So, which Meta, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, all these work together, and she spoke out. So, what's her name? Sarah Wynn Williams. She came out and she spoke out. She wrote a book, and she speaks out against these people. And she's up there, like she's like, I don't think she's right hand, but she's like third in place or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Up there, and she's sitting in the same rooms as Zuckerberg and the rest of them. And she speaks about how it's dark money that be moving it. How they got dark plans, dark ideas of how the company goes. A lot of things that they did research on, and they found out how their product could be hurting people. But even at that, though, they don't care, because they're going to keep on pushing. The interesting thing that came out is how they denied, because remember a while back they had actually went and talked in front of Congress, Mr. Zuckerberg, and they were asked about their involvement with China. In China, communist country. You know what I'm saying? So they asked about their involvement with China. They denied a lot of things, and supposedly Miss Williams comes out and actually debunks all that. Like, she comes out and says, yeah, they actually did. They did say that they were going to work with China, with the facial recognition, you know what I'm saying, and all the, and if you ever watched, there's an old series I used to watch called Westworld, and the whole thing about it is how they collected data. That was the jewel. It wasn't the experience, the environment, and all these other things. It was the data that was collected on people, and how they can use that data to manipulate people. So that's what China's after. They want that. They want to have the data. They want to have the ability to control people through the data that they collect off of people. So we're gonna go ahead and we're get into this a little bit, and then there's also a piece here too where Josh Hawley, the representative, what is he, a senator, I believe. Josh Hawley, he had actually spoke, because he's the one who actually did a lot of hammering on Zuckerberg. But I'm gonna show you a little piece too about how he says, they listen to this interview, they listen to the things, and they're like, hold up a second. So you said no in front of the jury in the council, when you did your testimony, you denied a bunch of these things, but now a bunch of these things are coming to light. So did you lie under oath? And then if you did lie under oath, first of all, why are you helping China? She explains in the thing about how they wanted the market and everything, but I mean, why are you helping China? Like, I mean, you're going to sell us down the river for a bigger piece of the market. That's you're truly not American. Now, everybody knows that, what, they helped cover up a bunch of stuff during the Biden administration. And of course, yeah, they say that, what, Zuckerberg did flip the script when he came to Trump winning, and he says himself that he seen Trump get shot, and then when he seen Trump get shot and got back up and was like, "Yeah, fight, fight, fight," it changed the way that he looked at him, which I hope is true. You know what I mean? But at the same time, too, though, like I mean, did you sell us down the river? Did you really set up Americans to take some damage?
We really are in this moment where political leaders and tech CEOs are combining forces, that they're strengthening their power and influence. And that really does have consequences, particularly when touched by politics in every part of our lives. We're touched by technology in every part of our lives. And as they come closer together, their strength and power is compounded.
Which is why Sarah says Mark Zuckerberg became more and more desperate to expand his $2.3 trillion business. In Beijing, he saw endless opportunities.
That has been Mark's white whale, the final frontier in his mind.
Why is Facebook so desperate to operate in China?
Last year, without even being in the China market, Meta made over $18 billion from China. This is an incredibly important market to Facebook today. It underpins the value of the company and it underpins the future growth of the company.
我很高兴来北京，我爱这个城市。我的中文很糟糕，但是我天。学用中文。
What concessions was Zuckerberg willing to make in order to operate and get into China?
They were prepared to work hand in glove with the Chinese Communist Party to develop up a censorship tool that would allow a chief editor to review and remove content on the platform.
So are you saying that Zuckerberg was willing to allow a communist influence behind the scenes of Facebook if it meant he could have access to the hundreds of millions of users?
He was willing to meet the specifications of the Chinese Communist Party, including their very specific content moderation demands.
Accountability is something Sarah Wynne Williams is also desperate for. The former director of global public policy is on a crusade to expose Meta. Sarah's written a tell-all memoir detailing disturbing stories, including the company honing in and cashing in on vulnerable teenagers.
The company had developed up the ability to assess when a teenager was feeling worthless or helpless. So to give you an example, if a 13-year-old girl deletes a selfie, she looks at the selfie and she's like, I don't actually want this on my Insta. I don't feel great about it. That's information that the company was able to take, and they were able to provide that as research to a beauty advertiser. Because to that beauty advertiser, they know that the moment that teen girl is feeling worthless is a really good time, from their perspective, to serve them a beauty advertisement. And that makes me feel sick. And the other thing that surprises me, and I was very shocked during my time in Silicon Valley, is how few of the executives allowed their teens to use the products. So
now, I mean, if you allow, okay, so first of all, I'm gonna say it like this, and you know what? I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to actually get all this video on the YouTube platform. I will get it on the rest of my podcast. At very least, I'll get it on the verbal ones. So you go check me out on Podbean. You know what I'm saying? I'm on Rumble. You can catch me on. Uploading the fan base. There's a bunch of different ones that I'm out there on right now. Little by little, I'm getting this spread out to where I want to form it. I'm working on getting the website set up. So, it's all finances and things like that. But with that being said, though, the censorship is a real thing. Because see, like, people don't realize there's a lot of things that I can't promote on the YouTube only because, and when they send me the policies and they deny my promotions and they deny me and they send me the policy on the reason why, there's one of them that they sent me and I was sitting there reading through it, and it actually doesn't even have to do with anything about America. It has to do with Europe. So due to the European policy that's set upon the Google, because Google owns YouTube, so due to that, I'm not allowed to promote my videos even just within America. So it is possible for an outside country to influence the censorship of our country, even though our country is supposed to be free speech. So you can be an American country and say that, you know what, I want free speech. I want to give my people free speech. But the other countries will say, well, if you want to operate in our country, then we have to be able to do this, this, and this. And we don't want this and this said about our country, about our people. Even if it's true, we don't want it said. So with that, they can turn around and they can tell that company, well, you know what, if you really want to have this part of the market, then you need to turn around and you need to put censorship on your program. So what they do is they input it, and I'm not specifically, I'm not word for word, but you know, they put a block on the programs, and then you're getting censored over here in America, and you don't even realize you're getting censored. Because the truth about it is, and you don't even realize why you're getting censored. You're not even getting censored because of what America policies. You're getting censored because foreign policies, because of the way they want things to be. So they say, we don't want you to do this and this and this. And well, it's not to censor the Americans, it's to censor our people, because we don't want our people to see these things. So then you turn around, they oblige by what they want, but in turn, what ends up happening is it comes back and it hurts us, because those basic rules are set into place on the algorithms, the programs, or whatever, however it is they do it, and it ends up censoring Americans, even though it's meant to censor their people, and then it censors everybody. So even if we do allow free speech here in America, and you can say whatever you want to say, good, bad, ugly, whatever, you can say whatever you want to say. Now, you don't have the right to put your hands on nobody, but you can say whatever you want to say. But then they turn around and then they use that as a tool to damage everybody. So, you know, because I'm telling you, when I read that policy reason on why I had promoted one that I did a video that was about false prophets, and then they denied me due to the fact that, you know, promoting religious things or whatever, which I wasn't even promoting the religious things, but whatever. But it turns around and it stated straight up that, you know what, that I was blocked due to, and when I read the policy, due to the European policy that was set in place on the Google policies. And then that's another thing too, is they say that Google and YouTube is separate, but at the same time too, though, Google owns YouTube, so whatever binds Google's hands binds YouTube's hands. So it works like that. So you'll see me, you know, like I said, whether I might not be able to even get all this on the YouTube, but I'll put the Podbean links and everything like that out there too, and we'll be able to. It's going to get out there. There's other ways. I'm learning. There's other ways. That's why there's a lot of these content creators that do get banned and get censored and things like that. And but you can't stop them from growing, because they're going to keep on growing. There's other ways to do it. There's other ways to get out there. And not all platforms want to play the game that these people want to play about censoring the world. So I do appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all joining me again. This is just a quick little catch-up video. And we're going to go ahead and we'll put some more stuff out there. And like I said, I got a few projects in the works, and I'm ready. I'm kind of excited to get them ready for y'all and get them going. So we'll get them going, and thank y'all once again. Like, subscribe, share, follow wherever you're watching or listening to me at. And I thank all my humble people. Humble, not timid. Another voice, another choice.
Getting mad at me, player, but they taking my place. And I'm a misbreed, homie, so they hate my race. Or maybe I'm just ugly, so they hate my face. Either way it go, homie, take the hating away. Now I'm suited in my armor, and I'm just ready to play. So now put me in coach, cause I'm just ready to game. See, I'm so drunk, I ain't going nowhere.